Bula guys.
Bula.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
Good to see you.
Good.
See you too.
Good.
That's right.
And here you gotta be like that, right? You gotta learn the Fijian way.
I know.
Good to
Very
see you
beautiful.
too. Thank you.
Are you relaxed? You look like it.
Yes.
What else do I see in your face, though? I don't just see relaxation. Is it just waiting?
Yeah. Anticipation.
No, just peaceful.
Oh, that's
Especially
nice.
after the service. Peaceful.
Oh, wasn't it magical?
Yeah, it was
Really nice.
good.
Yeah,
Good.
we have two villages here, and we go to both of them. That particular church we took you to is my favorite. So
Yeah.
it's really wonderful. The kids that go out there are just amazing.
Oh, adorable.
Love it.
And it reminded me a lot of the church we attended when we were growing up. We had
really?
a small church, not as small, but small. The way the pews are, and how they had the kid choir sitting on one
Yeah.
side and the adults on the other, and it was it really reminded me of the church I grew up in.
Where did you grow up?
In LA, on the church is on 79th and San Pedro, Chapel
Okay.
of Faith.
Yeah.
So we lived right down 2 blocks away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my mom would walk us to Sunday school, and then
Right.
we'll stay for the service, and just reminded me of all that and how they had their white dresses on
Yeah.
for communion and in the choir. It was,
And the singing is just
oh,
incredible.
heavenly, heavenly. We were like, can everybody here sing?
Everybody,
Everybody.
the kids, the adults, everybody is like hummingbirds.
It really is. The women's voices are so high, the men's voices are so deep, and the children's voices. And no, it's why I've come here for 25 years.
Yeah.
It's a culture that is so still connected to its spirit.
Yes.
You know, and to love of one another and to
Yes.
happiness.
Yes.
And it's one of the reasons I brought you guys here.
Yeah.
You know, it's I bring anybody here who needs the antidote to their daily life to remember what's really true.
Yes.
That the richest and most important things in life
Yes.
are spiritual in nature, and not to call them religious, but spiritual,
Yes.
meaning beyond the material.
Yes,
Right?
very much
I
so.
know you guys know that, but I also know you're caught up in the material a little bit right now.
Yeah.
And it's affecting you immensely and has to be addressed. But why don't you start out, if we would? What I'd like to do, just when I first get to meet you guys, is, and I've done my homework, but I want to understand your situation directly from you. You know, so I'd like to have you share with me just maybe a couple minutes about your upbringing a little bit and your background, and then what you really wanted your life to be looking like back then, and then a little bit about your modern life and your profession, and then a little bit about what's happened, and where you are now and what's being dealt with. So I just, as much as you'd like to share with me, I'd really like to be able to listen, and if I can, clarify a few things, and then we'll go from there, and then talk about what might be able to be done.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, with me, we're basically in the same area, Linwood, California, and Compton, California. Pretty
Yeah,
much
it was 2
close to each
blocks. The little divider is 2 blocks
Yeah,
away. So I
sure.
grew up in Compton, but my mom owned a business in Linwood.
Right.
Yeah.
And obviously not a good area as far as crime, and just a lot of negativity. With us, both of us, we just use sports to kind of get away from that negativity.
Yeah.
I grew up in a single-parent home with just my mom and my grandmother and my uncle that raised me. I'm 36 now, and I just met my father last year, being 35 years old.
What was that like?
It was different, very different, because I kind of use sports to kind of like take away that pain that I didn't have a father. And I just remember my uncle taking me to different spots to sign up for football leagues and basketball leagues, and I see all the other kids, they have fathers there. And I'm just like, wow, you see the dads giving their sons advice, and so I kind of missed that, but I had my uncle. My uncle Charles was there, my grandmother, strong-willed woman. They were there to kind of fulfill that void that I didn't have.
Right.
But once again, I knew the struggles that my mom had, not knowing what my father was, my grandmother the same way, she wasn't really married, and I just said that I want to have a better life than that. And I just said early on I would do whatever I can to be successful, and I just really felt that I wanted to use sports to do that. So I ended up going to elementary school, going to junior high, to a Christian junior high. And when everyone else was going to public school, and I didn't have that. I was more structured when I was 12 and 13, as far as my education, every Friday wearing a tie to school, and it kind of gave me structure in my life, and what I try to use right now. Ended up going to high school.
How do you use that structure right now?
I would say trying to be a little bit more disciplined than friends, or just trying to have some type of structure in my life, discipline-wise, and not being caught up. Not trying to be caught up as, what would I say? I guess people that I know, how easy it is to get caught up in certain areas.
Like where's that discipline in your life today?
I don't have it. I don't have it at all, and I think that
The reason I asked the question is based on the description you gave me before, even
Yeah.
a little bit of when we first met.
Yeah.
It's like you've got an image of how life is supposed to be, and you even act to yourself like you're being consistent with it, but you're not. And I'm not doing that to be harsh or mean.
Right.
I think you can see in my eyes where I'm coming from, but we also gotta speak the truth.
Right. Right.
You know, so there's an upbringing you have that you've used through most of your life to be successful. It sounds like, and you've kind of abandoned that structure, or have you?
Yeah, I definitely have abandoned a lot of things that I believed in growing up. And I think that I put myself in a situation to be, I don't want to say spoiled myself, but I had a routine. I had a routine the majority part of my life, and especially with basketball. The last 13 years has been my way of providing for my family, providing for myself, comforting in myself. And it was like right after my stroke, I saw that slipping away. Not being able to talk, walk, or hear, I was able to bring those things back in my life. So it kind of gave me a little bit more structure, because I figured I had something I had to do. I mean, those are my goals. I wanted to be able to talk, to hear, to do the things I was doing before my stroke. So it was like, there's always been something there that could kind of make me feel like, okay, hey, this is the goal. Do what you have to do to make sure that you can accomplish that goal. And it just seemed like I went back to play basketball after my stroke, and
Before you go there, let me take it back just so I don't miss anything, if I may. So you grew up with a strong grandmother, with a great uncle.
Yeah.
They were replacements for traditional those roles. I grew up just outside of South Central myself, at least those first few years of my life, in a very similar environment. I had 4 fathers, so I had plenty of them. I could have loaned you one. But they were never there either, so you can have them, and whether they're there or not is a whole other question, as you and I both know. So, I mean, I can relate in some ways and have obviously differences in my life as well. But you had a certain structure, you had a certain way of doing things, you've gotten used to a certain routine, and that's been disrupted. But your goal all along the way was to be successful no matter what, and your goal was to do that with basketball, and you succeeded, right? I mean, which very few people ever do in their lifetime, right? When did you guys meet? Let me understand that part first.
We met in the 9th grade.
9th grade.
Did you really?
Yeah, we met in the 9th grade. We had a class together where we had to take care of the eggs and structure our budget and decide like a career that we wanted to have and how much that career would pay. And we had that whole little thing going on.
So you were like buddied up in class
Yes.
before you were an item.
Yes, exactly.
And you had to work on a certain egg to start with how to protect it.
Well, that was parents.
Yeah.
We were like,
You need your parents right away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we often laugh about that, and then we built a relationship around basketball because we were both playing basketball. Both
So you're a
playing
basketball player as well?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
Varsity. We both played varsity in the 9th grade, and
What position?
Power
strong forward, power forward,
Power
forward.
I should have known that one.
It was like Miss Charles Barkley in high school.
Miss
And
Charles
college.
Barkley.
Yes. High school and college.
And for yourself?
Small forward.
Small forward.
Small forward.
Small forward and power forward? I think we got to reverse that to start with here. We got a real problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we would constantly talk about basketball and, you know, about different players and the ball hoggers and all that. And yeah, so
You had mutual pain to
yeah,
share.
mutual
we'll do all,
pains,
we'll
exactly.
do all the hard work and they get all the
dirty work,
accolades
glory.
and everything.
No, but we had some awesome players who
Yeah.
played before us,
Yes.
so let us say that. We
Yeah.
were just griping, but they were awesome. So
Yeah.
we would communicate and talk about basketball, and our friendship grew. We would always be dating someone when the other one wasn't, so we
Right.
could never connect on that level until we got to college. I originally went to Oregon State my freshman year on a basketball scholarship. And during that time, a mutual friend who was there passed away, and my mom got sick. So I was like, I need to come home. You know, I got really homesick because I was used to my family in the stands and all that support and everything.
Do you have a big family, or
I have a big family, yes.
how many brothers and sisters?
I have 2 older brothers and 1 younger sister, and then of course a bunch of cousins and aunts, and we all
Aunties and
stayed like
cousins.
across the street or around the corner from each other.
Right.
So I was used to them coming to the games, and then it just, my mom getting sick was like, I gotta go home. I can't. And then after our friend passed, that was like, I gotta get back home. I can get a scholarship at home and kind of enjoy basketball and family at the same time. So it worked to my favor. I ended up going to Long Beach State where he
where I
was
was.
already.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and then
And you knew that at the time?
yeah, I
Yeah,
knew it was at Long
yeah.
Beach State.
And did you want to connect with him at that time?
You know what? I wasn't really, but our friends would always say we were going to be together.
Everybody would
it
say
was
since
so
the ninth
funny.
grade, they would
yeah,
say,
they
"You
would
guys
say
gonna
we were
get
going to be
married one
So
together.
you didn't have the chemistry, but you did have a friendship.
You had
Yeah,
friendship.
yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's a great
I
foundation.
talked to him
Definitely.
every once in a while from Oregon, and then like when our friend passed, they had his funeral at the
At our high school. At our
the
high
high
school.
school.
Okay.
So I saw him there then, and we talked briefly.
Any
and
chemistry then?
It was
We
still
would just
more-
flirt
it
a
was
lot.
Yeah.
We would flirt a
Yeah,
lot,
Yeah.
but it was just like kind of.
A little bit distance from each other, but we still knew that we had that
We knew we
chemistry as far
liked
as
each other.
friendship.
It was kind of like I like
Yeah.
you, you like me, but we won't say anything. Just we'll see who steps forward first, and you know,
Who steps forward
yeah,
first?
who initiate the relationship.
And who did?
Probably me.
She did originally. Yeah, she did. I was so much into basketball and I want to be in the NBA. I want to do this. So I think that females, at that time, I just thought that there was a destruction for me.
Distraction, not
Distraction,
destruction.
excuse me.
I don't
That was
know.
a Freudian
Maybe
slip, I
so.
think.
Maybe so. Destruction. I don't
That's what I
know.
said at that time. But yeah, I wanted
Changed his
to.
opinion
Yeah.
after.
And I did. And that was the whole thing because I figured, I mean, she's been in my life since the 9th grade. She helped me out with tests. I mean,
Tutoring, yeah.
Tutoring, I mean, everything.
So you tutored him?
Yeah.
On what subjects?
We had a lot of
Everything.
classes together. I think he did that on purpose so I could help him throughout college. And it was funny when I transferred and my brother was helping move my clothes in. He put a note on the door and he was like, call me when you get a chance. I'll show you around campus, show you to your classes. My brother was like, He didn't know how to take that. I was like, oh, don't worry about it. He's fine.
Yeah.
So that was cute. And then from that day, when I called him, he did. He showed me around classes and the area, and then we kind of dated since then. We've been dating and building a relationship since then.
How many years you been married?
It's going on 7 years.
Going on
now.
7 years.
Yeah.
Dated like 10 years before we got married.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was on and off, but
And then he was playing overseas,
I was
and
playing
so
ball overseas and with the Globetrotters and
While you were married, or
obviously before and afterwards.
both? Both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, I got
Yeah.
the two.
Yeah.
And how did that work, having him not there? Or did you travel? How did you guys deal with
I
that?
would go
travel.
after I graduated from college. I started teaching and coaching with my brother. I went back to Linwood to teach and coach
What do you teach?
English,
Great.
high school English, 9th and 10th grade. And so after that, I started teaching, and he was traveling. So on Christmas breaks or spring breaks, if he was away, I would go and visit him and enjoy traveling and seeing the environment he was playing in.
And how many seasons? I mean, how many months a year were you guys apart?
Oh, it depends. I mean, the longest was about 5 months where I was in Australia.
No, that's not the
last year.
longest. That's the shortest amount. The longest you
That is the
said.
longest.
You failed math
5
too? I
months?
mean, what's the deal here?
The longest.
5 months was the longest. No, I thought
What
maybe.
you think?
No, I remember like a 7-month period you were away.
Okay.
You mean the shortest is 5 months?
Yeah.
You think the shortest, right? Yeah, I think the shortest was 5 months. The longest would probably be like 7 months.
Yeah, because most of the seasons are
7 or
either
8
7 to 9 months long. So,
Got it.
but normally I would go over there the first 3, 4, 5 months, make
Right.
sure everything is okay, and then obviously when we had our kids, our children,
Yeah, of course.
I
After
wanted to
that,
make sure
I
everything was okay for them before they came over.
Right.
And it was difficult, real difficult being in a different country by myself and trying to really just make a better situation, not only for myself, but for my family while I'm away from them.
Yeah. Large phone bills.
Yeah, yeah, very
Large
Gotta use
phone
Skype
bills.
today,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, exactly.
much, very much so.
So walk me through this. So tell me a little bit, if you would, first though, about how you went from Long Beach State. So at that point, you got married shortly after college?
No,
No, we didn't get married until
we're almost 30 years old.
yeah, it was like 2003. We got married
Yeah.
2003.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
So even though he was traveling, you stayed in touch and connected and so forth.
Yeah.
And we bought a home before we got married. We bought a house. He lived with me when he was home in our apartment and so forth. But he just wasn't ready yet to make a commitment because he felt he needed to be financially stable before he made a commitment to marriage. And I used to say, hey, if you love me, we'll work on that during the process.
Yeah.
But he was really committed. That was to him what it means to be a man.
So tell me about that. Where does that come from, that you had to be financially stable
Yeah.
before you could get married, but you could live in sin?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, well, both of us.
You said it though. You
You
said
don't
it
know
though.
how
That's
many
exactly,
people used to get on him, and I just sit
especially
there
her
like,
parents, especially her parents.
Well, also, you're the boy that comes from the Christian school wearing the tie every day.
Right,
Me
Come on.
too. I was like,
Well, that was the whole thing because I knew that I was going to marry her. So I was like, okay,
Oh, so as long as I know,
I'm going to marry
the Lord
her.
understands.
Me and God knows.
that's tricky. That's tricky, Tony. That's
slippery
tricky.
slope, huh?
Yeah, but it's the
Very
truth
tricky.
though. And it was tough. Well,
No, but tell me tell me, I'm not saying
Yeah.
I disagree with it even.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, tell me where
that
that
started
belief
from.
system comes from, that structure that says I got to be financially set before I can be married versus we get married and we work together to be financially set.
Well, because I didn't have that growing up with my parents and with my mom. She wasn't stable and she didn't have a relationship.
Right.
And I just said to myself, in order to have some type of stability, I just thought you need to have one of the two. I mean, if you have both of them, then obviously you have a stable relationship. But I wanted one of the two. And even though I didn't have a lot of relationships in high school or junior high. And I just decided that I wanted to make sure that I was financially stable. Because my mom, before Kim was even a thought in my head, my mom was everything to me. The way she raised myself and my sister by herself, making $24,000 a year. I wanted better for that, and I wanted better for her. And I always said to myself that when I decide what type of career I want to be in, I want to take care of my mom. Whether it's financially, emotionally, just some type of support with her, because I saw that she liked that. She liked that her whole life. With myself and my sister, she's liked all of that. And I just felt like by me being financially stable, I could provide her something that she's never in her wildest dreams would ever have. And that was the pinpoint of my life. I just said, okay, I want to be stable so I can provide for my mom.
Got it. So you wanted to be able to provide for your mom before you got married and had
Yes.
a larger demand.
Yes.
So your wife would be second, honestly, at that stage of your life.
Well, this is actually before Kim.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
At that stage of your life.
Yes, at that stage of my life. And then when I decided that I wanted to be with Kim, that kind of transferred to Kim. Actually, it still applied to my mom, but I almost had more responsibility because I had two women in my life that I wanted to take care of. Right. I didn't want her to work. I didn't want her, because I kind of knew about her upbringing, and the way her parents were. I just said that, it's something that I wanted for us.
Well, once we had children, he didn't want me to work, but I was already working, so.
Yeah.
And I think he wanted to compete with that. He was like, you have your career, you have your identity, and, I want to get that match or surpass what you're doing before I ask you to marry me. Which I understood, but I was like, my clock is ticking. My clock is ticking.
So take me up then. I think I got a good sense of your relationship and a little bit of your backgrounds. Bring me up to you leave Long Beach State, and I understand you're, you didn't make the professionals, and you're having a pickup game. And tell me that story.
Oh boy, just playing pickup game in UCLA, and all the professional players in the off season, that's where they go. UCLA is a spot to go to compete against other professionals. Sometimes NBA scouts, coaches, GMs, they come near, check out the games, because it's always something like hitting talent there. Right. So I had a friend of mine, a coach of mine, that told me to go up to UCLA and basically just told me to go create your opportunity. Okay. And he told me Magic Johnson is there with some other players playing pickup, and he just told me, go basically show your skills. Yeah. So almost two weeks in a row, he would call me. Are you going down to UCLA? Are you going to UCLA? I was like, no, I'm busy. I'm doing something. He's like, what are you busy doing? You already graduated. You need a job. You need to play some basketball. So finally went down to UCLA, and the first day I walked in there, I saw Magic Johnson. Obviously, it was like, he's my idol. So I'm just like, this is my Magic Johnson in the flesh. I see all these other pro players I played against before, and I knew I wanted to play. But they had this thing about players that were not on that professional level. If you weren't in the NBA, they didn't basically let you on the court. Right. So a friend of mine basically got me on the court, and I just remember Magic Johnson saying, "Long Beach, you're in." And I'm nickeling around like Long Beach, and I had my Long Beach State jersey on. And I did it on purpose because I wanted to kind of separate myself from everybody else. So.
Why?
Basically, because I knew that I was good.
I knew I was stand out.
Now, that feeling you just said.
Yeah.
When I knew I was good.
Yeah.
There was a great confidence in that. Not quite an arrogance, but close to it.
Yeah.
But the kind that you need as an athlete, that kind of arrogance, right?
Exactly.
Which better word for it probably is an absolute certainty of owning yourself, right?
Right. Right.
And every great athlete I know has it. Mm-hmm. Every great leader I know has it, although if you lead people, sometimes you got to load that a little bit outside athletics, because otherwise people take it wrong. Mm-hmm. But it's a knowingness, right?
Mm-hmm. It is.
That knowingness is still inside you.
I sure hope so. I mean, I can't confidently say that. I
That's
can't.
fair.
And
it's inside you, it's just not activated.
Yeah, I would say that.
You can't lose who you are.
Right.
You can lose confidence, but you can't lose who you are. Mm-hmm. And that piece doesn't come from just playing the game. That little piece inside, you've had for a long damn time before that day you came out in front of Magic Johnson. Am I right about that?
Yeah, you're right.
So that's a state in you. That's a gift that some people have. I can show people how to create it if they don't have it, but if you already got it, you got a giant jump on just about everybody you meet, because you can have skill, but if you don't have that state of certainty, that absolute certainty, then you don't execute. But if you got that certainty, that's what made Magic who he was. You throw him the ball. He wants the ball when the buzzer's about to go off. He wants to take that last shot. The other guys are looking who to pass the ball to, right?
Yeah.
That's the state. That's what Jordan always had. That's what Tiger Woods has.
Kobe's got it. Yeah, Kobe absolutely exudes that.
Yeah, he does.
He just takes over a game with that. Like, step aside, give me the ball. Yeah.
What would you call that state? What is that state?
What is my time? It's my time.
My time.
Yeah.
I call it a zone.
Yeah.
That's a zone.
So you got that zone, and your anchor for when you're playing is my time. So when you're wearing Long Beach State, there's a part of you wearing that to say, it's my time.
It's my time. Yeah.
So tell me, you're sitting there, and then suddenly you think it's your time, and somebody calls your bluff.
He calls my bluff.
He says, in there, Long Beach, right?
The man who calls it, I mean, he knows if you're real or not. And for him to call me on the court with all these other professional ball players, I mean, they're making millions already. They've already known and everything. And I'm a kid just out of college, 2 months. And and the first thing I had to do was I had to guard Magic. Everyone else is getting the other players, and I have the ball. So
you're new. You go guard.
Yeah, you go guard the man. So I'm like throwing him the ball, and instead of me really
Were you
fan.
intimidated, or were you still in my time state after
No,
that? Or did you come
I-
out of my time state?
No, basically what it was, I was more in an awe. I mean, I've never
Okay.
been on a court with a player of that status. So I'm like guarding him at the same time. I'm looking at him head and toes. I'm just like, oh my God, this is like the man. And I kind of want to see his movements, see what made him the man. This is my idol. I want to see what makes him who he is.
Yeah.
And long story short, my team ended up winning the game.
Did you do a good job
I did a
defending against
very
him?
good job.
You stopped him?
I didn't stop him completely.
Nobody does
Yeah.
that.
Nobody. I didn't stop him completely. I'm not going to say I did, but I held my own. And
Wow.
I was able to stay on the court that day, and he had told me to come back for the next week. And all I know is that the following week, I was signing a letter of intent to play with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Wow. So you went to work for the Lakers? and you
Yes, I
play.
did. I did.
Wow.
I played 6 or 8 games with the Lakers in '97.
Okay. And what happened?
I got released. Byron Scott. That was his last year. Obviously, he's
I actually
another.
coached him.
Did you?
Yes, I
Byron
turned him around. He was
Scott.
having a bad,
Okay.
set of free, it was a real bad string of free throws,
you
and I took him in and
serious?
completely turned him around.
Oh my gosh! No,
Was that
he's-
84?
That was actually 90. His last year in the NBA. That'd be 97.
Oh, it was last year. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I got him early on.
Yeah. So obviously, Byron Scott, he's an all-time Laker favorite.
Yeah, of course.
Shooter. I mean, he does everything.
Yeah.
So basically, between myself and him,
Got
and
it.
he ended up making the team. I was still young, just out of college. I didn't have any experience, but I took that as people telling me, especially the Lakers, that organization telling me that I was good. I always wanted to have that feeling that I was good. I knew that I was good, but to hear someone else,
Yeah.
in that type of organization to say that you're good enough to play on this level. So I use that as motivation. I wasn't too upset that I got cut or released from that team.
Right.
But I immediately went over and played over in Taiwan for about 7 or 8 months. And that's where my career started. Every year since '97, I've been playing professional basketball overseas, and finally got the chance again. Next year, I had another tryout with the Clippers. I was the last cut once again, and that one kind of hurt. It hurt a little bit more then, because I thought that I was ready. My body, mentally, physically, I was ready, and they basically picked someone else for whatever reason. But that one kind of hurt, and it made me more motivated. But at that time, I didn't think that the NBA was good for me. It was for me, because it was just so difficult, and it didn't rub me the right way.
The rejection, that's what happened,
That's what it was. For me to be rejected, I didn't understand it. I didn't.
Whereas the Lakers, you never expected.
I didn't expect it,
So
exactly.
there was no downside, right? You
Yeah.
you got to play. Now you
Right.
expected to and didn't
Right.
make it. So one of the things we're going to talk about later is when your expectations match your life, you're happy as heck.
Yeah.
When your life conditions don't match your expectations, that's when you start to get pain. When your life doesn't match your expectations and you feel paralyzed or out of control or helpless to change it, that's when you suffer. And there's a difference between pain and suffering. So we'll talk about that. But so the second time you felt a little more pain because it
Yeah.
was a different expectation. So what happened? Did you go back overseas?
I went back overseas. I went back overseas to Japan, to the Philippines, all the way up until played in the minor leagues, all the way until 2002, when I finally make the NBA. And the funny thing about that story is that I knew I was more than ready. I was like I was in the best condition of my life, mentally, physically, just like I felt that year when I went to the Lakers, but even more so. But I knew I could not feel the confidence in myself if I was to get rejected again. And that scared me. It scared me like nothing else in my life, because I knew I was ready. And I just wanted an opportunity. That was all I wanted, was a simple, good-hearted opportunity. And I didn't know if I was going to get it at this time with this team. And it wasn't until I called her the day I got the call. We had just got into our new house, and I told her I got a tryout to play with the Rockets. And she was like, "Well, what are you going to do?" I said, I don't want to get rejected again.
You guys are friends at this point still? Or?
No, this
No,
is
we
where
were
we're
engaged.
living together.
We're
Were we engaged?
Yeah, we were engaged.
No,
then.
it took so long, I don't know. You know.
We were
so long.
engaged.
Okay,
We
if
were
you say so.
bunch,
If you say so,
We were
yeah. Okay.
engaged, and
I can imagine the trash talking between the two of you playing basketball.
Oh
too.
yeah.
You always win the trash talk. I don't like
Whatever.
confrontation. I don't
Whatever.
like that.
Did they tell you we broke the court out there?
Yeah.
By
No.
chance?
Would you
No,
slam
we
it or
were
something?
we were shooting, and it just I was tearing the net up. It was just smoking because
that
I was
what it
hitting
was?
all my
Oh,
shots. We were
whatever.
playing horse, and he was getting ready to get whipped up,
Uh-huh.
and the court just collapsed. It just helped him out. But back on the subject. Back on the
Later
subject.
on,
Yeah, he
later
did
on.
call me, and I'm just
Yeah, I
like,
called her.
what is the confusion?
It says opportunity. It's an
Yeah.
opportunity of a lifetime. People don't get that opportunity. And I just kept saying, I'm not going to be comfortable with myself if I get rejected.
Yeah.
And the only thing she can say is, did you pray on it? And I was like, yeah. And what did you come, what feeling did you have after that? I said, well, it's funny because I got a call from the general manager, like formally invited me to come to camp. And I agreed to come. And she basically was like, okay, well, there he is. That's your answer. So I went to camp with the Rockets, and before I even got on the airplane, they tell me that we want to invite you to camp, but you don't have a chance to make our team
Wow.
because we already have our players.
Wow.
And this-
Absolutely no chance.
No chance at
Whatsoever.
all.
In some ways, that works to your advantage
Exactly.
because you aren't really rejected, right? Expectations just dropped again.
There you go.
Right?
There you go.
I want you to remember this part of our conversation because this is the essence of why your life is where it is right now as well. Everything in your life right now has nothing to do with your life. All the pain you have in your life right now, financially, emotionally, your mom, family, it all comes down to one simple thing, and you know it in your soul when you're honest with yourself, but you're not acting on it, and that's real simple. Your life doesn't match your expectations, and so now you want out. And everybody's life doesn't match their expectations at times, but unfortunately, you've always had a way out that you could still kind of adjust to. And so now your expectations here were lowered, so now everything's a victory. That's how it works. And so now you're okay with it. And since the pressure's not on, you seem to perform even more.
Yeah, that's
right?
absolutely correct.
I mean, this pattern is not hard to figure out.
No,
Right?
Does he know
even
me?
even
All right.
I got that.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I
Anybody's
haven't
saying.
been where you've been.
So your expectations are lower, the pressure's down, you're not going to get rejected, so you give your all.
And I ended up making a team.
Well, it was that grace thing
Yes.
also because a player got injured. The
Right.
player that they were counting on to make that last
Yeah.
spot,
Yeah.
he got injured.
Yeah.
So that was grace right there, and he performed, of course. So
Yeah.
he slid right in.
So you're one of the oldest rookies, I imagine, at that stage, right? How old were you?
I was 29 years old.
And how was that one of the oldest rookies in the league at that stage?
I was the second oldest rookie in the league that year.
Wow. And how'd you do?
I did well. I played the whole year. My first 10 games, I started. I was a starter in the NBA. Not only that I made the NBA, but I was a starter. Played well against the Lakers, my former team that cut me. We ended up winning. And that was one of the
Took a little
best
joy in that.
Yes, it did. It did. You know, playing against Kobe, Shaq. I mean, these are guys that I've always idolized that, and for me to play against them and do well, and then for them to tell me that
Yeah.
I'm a good player, that was my all-time high.
Wow. So eventually you played one season for the Rockets?
Yeah, I played one season. Unfortunately, Rudy Tomjanovich, he became real ill, and for some reason something happened with the ownerships. They didn't invite him back as a coach, and the new coach came in and changed everything from players, his personnel, staff. I mean everything. And I was a rookie. I wasn't a big name player, so I didn't even have a chance to come back to camp to prove myself again.
Right.
And once again, my expectations, not only about myself, I still knew I was good enough, but just about the NBA, I just said, you know what, I'm just going to leave it alone now.
Mm-hmm.
So I just continued to play. I wanted to provide. I had my family, my daughters.
Yeah, by that time we had our first child.
Yeah,
Sky.
yeah. So I wanted to provide for my family, and I decided that basketball had still been good to me, even though I wasn't in the NBA, and that I would just go back overseas to make a living for myself and my family.
Right. And you went back to where, Europe or?
Asia. I went back to Asia with the Harlem Globetrotters. Japan. I played in Japan for 3 seasons, and then finally the last 2 years I played in Australia.
So take me to the day that altered your life so radically down in Australia, playing for the team. Who you playing for? What happens?
Yeah, I was playing with the Gold Coast Blaze, and it's an Australian team. And I've been here. I was there. The season started in 2000. Their first inaugural season started in 2007. So the first time the team has an existence in the league. So I played there my first year, and great fan support, great league. My teammates, coach, everything was fabulous. And New Year's Day, my life changed forever. My family had just got to Australia.
Christmas.
Excuse me, was it Christmas?
Christmas Day.
Christmas Day? Yeah, Christmas Day. And so they got here. They got there to Christmas Day, and then the next day I left.
No, you left on the 29th.
So it was like 2 days I stayed at home with you
Yeah,
guys.
because we celebrated Sky's birthday with a cake.
Yeah, okay.
And we went grocery shopping, and he showed us around Australia a little bit, and then he was like, I have a away game. I believe it was the 29th
Yeah.
that you left on Sky's birthday.
Yeah, my daughter's birthday, my oldest daughter's birthday is the 29th, and I left after that for our road trip game. And
They played the night before.
we played the night before,
It was New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve,
And we
and
talked and said, I
everything
love
was fine.
you, and, you know, celebrate New Year's. And I was like, I'm exhausted, so you go ahead. They were eating,
yeah,
and everything seemed normal, fine. And
And what happened?
woke up the next morning, and I went to go brush my teeth like I normally do. We had a flight to take in Melbourne, but we had a team breakfast, and I just went up to brush my teeth to get ready for the team breakfast, and all of a sudden my right arm got a little tingling feeling on my right arm. And I'm just moving around, and I got a little nauseated, and I said, well, let me go lay down. You know, maybe I need to get a little quick power nap. So as I went to go lay down, and my right arm got completely numb. Couldn't feel anything at all. So I'm just laying on the bed with my back down and picking up my arm, trying to wake it up, and every time I would pick it up, it would come right back down on my face like a brick. So I got a little nervous. My roommate, he had just went to go eat breakfast with the rest of the team, so I stood up in the mirror to look at the mirror. And something in the back of my mind, for something I was thinking about a stroke, but I was still like, I'm 34 years old, I'm athletic, I just can't be happening to me. And as I stood up, looked in the mirror, I smiled, and my whole face was kind of sagging. And I got extremely nervous then. So I laid back down, and I just prayed. Just prayed like I've never prayed before, anticipating some pain. And a couple of minutes later, I stood back up to look at the mirror again. And as soon as I looked at the mirror, I just fell completely down. My whole right side is just numb. Couldn't feel anything. And thank God I had my bags. I was already ready, and they were just sitting down on the ground, and it kind of cushioned my fall. So I'm just laying on the ground, can't feel anything on my right side, and I'm just trying to, just kind of grab something to get myself up. And I got so tired, and I just sat there. My roommate still wasn't near, and I just sit there just praying, and I couldn't feel anything on my right side. So I started to think about a plan. I got to get some help. So I was looking at the doorknob, and I just said, I got to find a way to get over.
Is everything slowing down at this point?
Yeah,
or?
everything is pretty slow right now.
Yeah.
And I'm just like looking around. I wasn't even thinking about the phone. I wasn't thinking about yelling. I was just trying to get to that doorknob, and I couldn't get my balance. So I grabbed the chair. From the chair, I grabbed the bed to the dresser, pulling myself up and just dragging my leg, dragging my whole right side. And I pulled myself on the doorknob, and I opened up the door thinking there's going to be some people passing by, and no one was outside. And I really got nervous because I can just feel like something else is about to happen. So I got nervous once again, kind of limped over to the bed and just laid down again, just praying. All of a sudden, my roommate comes in, and he was like, Hawk, are you going to eat breakfast? And as I tried to respond to what he said, I'm just like, nothing would come out. I couldn't talk at all. that scared. Every negative thought I had of what's going to happen to me next just kind of hit me at that point. I knew I was going to have some more pain. I knew it was going to be something because I couldn't talk. Just a couple of minutes ago, I couldn't feel anything on my right side, but I could not talk. And it was almost like a 5-minute period where I'm just like, just grabbing my throat, grabbing my head.
He didn't understand what
He
was
didn't
going on?
understand, so he's just looking at me and just waiting for me to respond. And so I was finally able, I kept like trying to just say anything, and I was finally able to say real faint, go get the coach. I need a doctor. So he ran and got our massage therapist, and he comes in. He was like, Hawk, what's going on? And I can't talk. I couldn't feel anything on my right side. And then he was just kind of assessing myself, my arms, telling me to stick out my tongue. And I just said, I just needed to see the doctor. It was everything I was saying was just real faint. It was just crazy. So this is when the drama started. And then he went to go tell my coach. So my coach says he's probably just dehydrated. He's probably dehydrated. And besides, we have a game tomorrow, and we have to take our flight. We'll take him to the doctor once we get to our next city.
Did he see you?
No.
So he just heard the reports, didn't understand?
To this date, I don't know what he was told, but I know for a fact that they told him that I wanted to go to the doctor. And I just felt that rejection again. That he wasn't paying attention to me. So it made me take a 2-hour flight. And I was scared on the flight.
How could you walk? How could you, I don't understand.
I was, at this time, my arm was a lot better. I was able to walk. My strength came back. It came back, but everything was faint.
You could talk well?
Me talking wasn't, not in full sentences.
But you were able to hold yourself up, you weren't falling down,
yes,
your right side had recovered somehow?
Yes, my right side, it recovered.
So on the surface, things looked okay?
Yes, but almost every third word I would say, I need to see a doctor. I need to see a doctor. I never stopped from saying, from the moment that I had that symptoms of a stroke, I never stopped saying that I just kept saying that I need to see a doctor. So
you got on the plane?
Got on the plane, and I took 2 flights. The first flight was a 30-minute flight. We had a layover. And I just thought that was it. It was a 30-minute flight. I was going to I was going to go to the doctor, I was going to go to the hospital, and until the therapist told me that, no, we have another 1.5 hour flight, and we'll take you to the hospital once we get to Melbourne. And once again, I'm just remembering on that flight, I took a nap on the flight, and it scared me so much where I woke myself up because I didn't know what was going to happen to me again. Finally got to Melbourne, and it was about 7 p.m. at this time. I had the stroke at 9 o'clock in the morning. So all this time has gone by, and now I know the symptoms of a stroke. I know that you really have 3 hours to go to get help, so you won't have any.
How did you know that? I'm curious.
Well, now
No,
that
he
I know.
said
Now
now.
that I
Oh, now
know.
you know.
Yeah, now that I know.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I finally got to the hospital, and the first hospital, I think they took my coach's word, and they just gave me an IV of fluids and sent me on my way. They just said I was dehydrated.
Hospital wouldn't take a coach's word. They'd be checking you out even if the coach said he was dehydrated. So do you know that for a fact, or do you think that's...
No, I know for a fact they didn't. Well, as far as them taking the coach's word?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't know for a fact. I'm just
okay.
saying that the way they came to me and they told me that, yeah, you probably just dehydrated.
Well, the symptoms on the surface probably look the same as the truth for them.
Yeah.
They dig underneath it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then...
So they sent you away?
Sent me away. Went back to...
This is at what time now?
This is about midnight now.
Okay, got it.
So the next morning, I went back to my hotel. The next morning, I wake up and couldn't hear on my right eye, right ear. Can't hear on my right ear. And immediately, I go right back to the coach and said, Coach, my speech is a lot better, not slurring as much as I was the day before, but I still said that I need to see a doctor. Something is going on. So he was like, oh, well, we have a game tonight, and we'll see how you feel after our shoot-around. After breakfast, we have a shoot-around, and after shoot-around, we'll see how you feel and take you to the doctor. And I said, no, I need to see a doctor now. Please, I need to take a doctor now. I need to go see a doctor right now. So he's just all getting prepared for the game. And so I eat breakfast, I go to the meeting, and he's giving me all these instructions of who I'm going to guard, what we're going to be doing. And I'm just in the back of the room, just got my head down because my head is just ringing. My head is just ringing. And he just said, I just remember him yelling out, Hawk, you hear me? You hear what I'm talking about? I'm just like, no, I don't. And I just got my head down. So I'm not even paying attention. So after the meeting, I just went directly to him. I said, Coach, something is going on. I didn't hear anything you were saying. Could I please go to the doctor? After a shooting round, we'll take you. So I was so frustrated. I was so pissed. I went outside to try to find myself a taxi. I'm in Melbourne, don't know anything about the city, and cars are passing by and I can barely hear them. And I just decided to go back to my assistant coach, what I had a better relationship with. And I just looked at him in his eyes and I said, you know, Mark, could you please take me to the hospital? Something's going on. So he looked at me, and from that moment, he was like, something is going on. I'm going to take you to the hospital. So we went to the hospital, and from the moment I stepped into the hospital, I couldn't hear anything in both of my ears. The doctor told me to lay on the hospital bed, and he started to ask me questions. And once again, I can barely hear, and he's asking me like 4 or 5 times, have you taken any drugs? Have you hit your head or anything? So I'm trying to answer those questions, and he finally said, yeah, something is going on. 10 minutes later, it took an MRI. I just remember the doctor coming in, and he almost had his hand over his mouth. And he was like, I don't know how to tell you this, but you suffered a stroke. It was suffered in your brain, and on the left side of my brain. And he said, you will not be able to play basketball anymore. Obviously, I just got emotional. I said, this cannot be happening. I have a game tonight. And he was like, no, you won't be playing in a game tonight, and we don't know if we're going to be able to play again. But and my next questions were, will I need surgery, and will I live, and will I see my family? And he said, you're not going to need any surgery. You will see your family, and we're just not for sure if you're going to be play basketball again. But we're going to go ahead and keep you in the hospital for the next, it was a week that I was there.
5 days.
Yep. And he said, we're going to assess you more, but you've suffered, I forgot the name of it, it's a cerebral infarct in your brain, and we're going to stay here to assess you. And for those next 5 days, I couldn't talk, couldn't say my ABC. The symptoms even got worse afterwards. And I still got the picture of my daughters on my phone, that I just want to make sure that even though I couldn't say my ABCs, at times I couldn't even say my name, but I was never going to stop remembering my daughter's name. And I just kept saying Sky Imaya Khalees every single day.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And even then, after I got it back from the hospital, and it's still not at times, I don't know if you can tell, but I have a problem with just speaking at times. Because I
can't tell that at all.
My words I mumble sometimes, or certain things I want to say.
For God's sakes.
Yeah, but certain things I want to say, it comes out differently.
Me too. You can't use that one. But your miraculous turnaround, you can't use that one. Trust me.
Yeah, but those.
So tell me. So this brutal happened. I can only imagine, what everybody felt, because so many different people, misdiagnosed what was going on. How long did it last? How long, were you there for 5 days, and then you had to go through rehab, or what happened?
I went rehab for about 8 months.
Well, you were in the hospital 5 days.
5 days.
5 days.
I didn't go back to play basketball. I stayed there with my team, because our team, we only needed to win one more game to make the playoffs. So I stayed in Australia and supported my team.
But we also we couldn't fly for 45 days.
Yeah. Oh, because of the
and they informed us, like, that flight, the 2-hour flight he took, could have killed him, of course.
Right.
So yeah, he couldn't fly, so we had to stay there 45 days before we could come home.
Right.
Plus, their team was still in the hunt for playoffs, and he wanted to watch his.
Did they win?
Yeah, they finally won one game.
Well, damn.
Out of
Some good comes out of this damn story.
Yeah, they ended up winning, going to the playoffs, but they lost the first round of the playoffs.
Okay.
And but it was just that whole experience.
So,
and,
so help me understand. So the 8 months you did back home in the U.S., I assume, then you came back home?
Yeah,
And
I
did the
stayed in
rehab?
Australia. I stayed in Australia for 3 months, and then I did the rehab in Australia for 3 months, and then I came home. And the only rehab I did at home was my speech therapy that I had in Australia. I had like a big booklet of ABCs and 1, 2, 3s.
Well, she had other things like the consecutive order of things, because that was kind of
Yeah, sequencing.
yeah, sequence and stuff like that. Different things to put different things in order. So she was kind enough to leave us a big pack for him to exercise and work
So you
on.
kind of did it
at
on your
home.
own then?
Yeah.
So you went through 3 months of rehab there in Australia, which you can only imagine was brutal. Then 8 months really of kind of doing your own rehab, or 5 months more of doing
She
your own
wanted
rehab
him
in the
to.
U.S.
She recommended that he just continue with his regular daily activities. He was always on the internet, always doing activities on the internet. She said, "Oh, that'll help you greatly. You know, reading the information." And so many people sent him emails and
What are you getting all
wishes.
emails about? Oh, just
Yeah,
Yeah.
get better and
get
all that.
Yeah.
So
I had great fan support over
Yeah.
in Australia,
That's
and
wonderful.
it was just amazing to because I remember we would come home after the hospital. I guess it was after the hospital, but I have like a whole flock
Yeah.
of flowers and
Baskets of
bears
stuff and bears
It
and-
was like
I bet you didn't feel too rejected by that.
no, I didn't. It made me feel good.
So tell me what your experience of this is, and then I want to get to where we want to go from here. What was your experience at this time, you know, when this happens?
Well,
How did you process it? How did you deal with it?
when it happened, they were continually saying dehydration because they had a game, a televised game that night.
Yeah.
But when I didn't see him on the bench, I knew something was wrong. It had to be more because he received an IV the night before. So if they're saying it today, you know, they would have given him an IV and he would be sitting on the bench and just recovering, but he wasn't on the bench. So that alarmed me right away. And then I started calling because I only had, I had one of his teammates' number, and I had the coach Matt, his assistant coach, I had his number. So I only had those two numbers. So I started calling the phone because I'm just like, something is off. He's not on the bench. So now I'm really worried. And at the time, I may have spoken with him for like 5 seconds. So it was like just something was wrong. So while I'm dialing, the numbers are trying to contact Coach Matt, the line clicked, but I didn't answer because I'm trying to get through to the assistant coach. Couldn't get through.
What did you feel is what I want to know. What did you really feel?
I was just really trying not to overreact because I didn't know the facts yet. I didn't know the facts. I was trying not to.
Once you knew the facts, how did you react?
Well, like I said, when I was on the phone, the line clicked. And after I got off the phone and couldn't get in contact with Matt, one of the, I don't know what her position was, but she called and left a voicemail message that he suffered a stroke over the phone. So I couldn't believe, I'm just like, this is not real. First it's over voicemail, but she left the doctor's number, so I'm just like, I can't, this is not real.
And this is when your dad. This is like you said. This is.
It was a year after my dad passed.
Yeah.
So I'm
Exact-
really,
exact day.
yeah, I'm
Right.
really just sitting there like, this is just like, this could not be for real. So I called the doctor's number that she left, and talked to the nurse, and they gave him the phone. And he
I didn't
was
wanna
just like,
talk.
he didn't really want to talk.
I couldn't talk. I was like, I wanted to make sure my words were very limited, so it kind of
He didn't want to alarm me.
I didn't want to say too much and that she would know.
If somebody tells you a
what's going on.
stroke, you're already alarmed. So I already had this vision in my head of stroke, you know, debilitation on the side, right side or whatever side. And but when I heard him speak, I'm okay. Don't worry. I was like, okay, he's okay because he's able to talk. But I just didn't know the physical aspect of the stroke.
Right.
So after I got off the phone with him, I collapsed. I was just like, I sat on the stairs and I was holding my head and I was crying because I couldn't believe this. I'm like, it's no way. I was like, come on, God, there's no way. There's no way this can happen. You know, my husband is 34 years old. We just saw him a couple days ago, and he was fine. I mean, he managed to put on weight and maintain that weight. He looked great. And it just didn't seem real. But the young lady who called came over because I guess she realized, hey, I shouldn't have left that message. Maybe I should have stopped by. And when she came over and I opened the garage door to let her in, and I collapsed in her arms, crying, because I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know anybody here. What am I supposed to do? And she told me to hold on to your faith. And it kind of woke me up. It triggered, just triggered that in me, like I have to get myself together. I have to prepare for whatever is going to happen. My girls were upstairs napping. I said, I can't let them see me like this. So I called back because I wanted to talk to the doctor. And I wanted to see exactly what was going on. And once I spoke with the doctor and then talked to him a couple more times throughout the day, I wasn't so terrified. But I was still like, I couldn't believe it. Because